Greetings and welcome to That Works, a DreamWorks podcast starring a happily unemployed photographer barely getting by with DoorDash, a disgruntled ex-journalist now writing Scott Pilgrim fan fiction, and a spineless asthmatic 26-year-old curmudgeon sweeping movie theaters for a living. And today, for episode 11, we're covering an Aardman movie released through DreamWorks, the second of three, that came out in 2005, Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, which these characters are based off of the Wallace and Gromit shorts. I think there were three of them before the movie. All three are very good. One of them won the Oscar for Best Animated Short, and this movie won Best Animated Feature at the Oscars. So, this is not one I watched as a kid.
I'm with you.
Yeah, you didn't either?
Nope.
Is this the first time?
Yeah.
Okay, this is my second time. What about you? Is this first time? So, an interesting this time where none of us watched it when it came out, and I'm the only one who had watched it before. So, and before we begin, spoiler warning. Again, this is a 16-year-old movie, kids movie, but we want to keep that magic there for all of you at home to experience yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
So without further ado, Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit.
Take us away. Paint a picture. What the movie's like.
When a large, unseen beast is consuming all the vegetables in town right before the big festival, it's up to Wallace and his trusty dog Gromit to catch the monsters before it eats everything. I think I meant monster, not monsters, but basically, yeah. They catch their whole business in this, which it's what Aardman always does well is like the gadgets and like the Rube Goldberg-like stuff. And there's a security system for rabbits and other pests eating people's garden. Like, I think it's a really fun setup.
It was clever.
So who wants to start?
I guess.
Do you want me to start?
Yeah, actually, go ahead.
Don't they push air through the rabbit holes and the rabbits
just
or something like that? Yeah. So this is one I saw in college for the first time because one night I randomly thought, I want to watch that. Everyone who's seen it says they love it. They have a fun time. I liked it. I like Chicken Run and Flushed Away. It's time I watched this one. And also it's a best animated feature winner. I've watched all the nominees, all of them ever, because I have no life. And so when I was working through them a couple years, like 2017 or 16 when I watched it, I remember having a good time. I remember not loving it as much as the other two, and it's got to be because I saw the other two around the time they came out, whereas this one, I'm like 23.
Makes more sense then.
But the second time I was watching it, I'm not bored, but I'm kind of like, going through emotions, seeing this, it's fun, characters are fun, okay. But by that finale, I was starting to be like, no, this is really good. It's really fun. The momentum of the ending and all the action and kind of just keeps building. And and we'll have to discuss the big twist. Again, spoiler warning.
Oh, yeah,
but that's all I'll say for now. We'll dive into the other stuff. That's really the big broad takeaway I got from this. So
I will say it's interesting you say that because I had a very similar experience all at once. So like when I was first watching the movie about a couple weeks ago, I was enjoying it, but I'm like, this is weird. I like it, but it's weird. And the more I think about it, the more fun the higher I think of it than when I originally saw it.
Kind of this is good. And then as you think about part two,
it's like a fine, I'm not going to say, it's kind of like wine to me. Like it ages well because it's very simple, cartoony, like there's physical humor and there's just the weird and zaniness is what does it for me. It just seems weird, but it's a fun weird, and I do like it. I really
excellent comedic timing.
It does. That's what it really.
They do that so well.
That is what it is.
At least that I've seen. There's a couple I haven't seen.
I totally agree with you. Yeah, that's what it really comes down to. Comedic timing. Exactly.
What do you think, Jake?
I would say that this is another one that kind of came out when I was still kind of in that phase where I wasn't all that into stop motion animation or claymation or just good movies in general.
That phase where you just don't watch animation either.
It's coming out of that phase because it's in 2005, so I would have met Drew by then, but only known him for a couple months at that point.
Your good friend Drew, for context, right?
Yes, my best friend Drew.
There you go.
And to be honest, when I metaphorically walked up to it in this challenge, I got it confused with Shaun and the Sheep.
Shaun the Sheep.
Not Shaun. Did I say Shaun
Shaun
and the Sheep?
Yeah, which is
Shaun
is
Shaun the
still
Sheep.
Aardman.
So I don't necessarily like those for whatever reason. I feel like if I watched them now, it'd be different. But regardless, like I got it confused, and so I was like, "Do I really think I'm gonna like this?" And I gotta tell you, I loved it.
Oh, good.
It was quick, much quicker than any of the other DreamWorks movies, comedically paced. It was quick. It was visual. I mean,
Imaginative.
Yeah.
It was,
yeah.
It was really
The-
creative.
the voicing didn't annoy me, and it wasn't distracting because it wasn't someone I like knew. Even like I know these names, but
Really, Ray
There's
Fiennes
no-
and Helena Bonham Carter are like the two big ones.
I was
gonna
Everyone
say,
else
yeah,
kind of
there's-
just blends in.
Only a couple really big names, but they really don't. Which is, I actually do like the fact that I don't think they try to, like, push the fact that
They're
it
not
had big-
relying on the all-star
They're not
cast,
relying
which
on
is
it.
that's
They're-
how Wallace and Gromit I feel is always.
They
worked.
were really just having fun with the hijinks.
and it's also funny because I thought myself so smart. I was like, it's gonna be like the dog that's the were-rabbit or something like that, and then they were like, "Oh,
You were
no
close.
close.
You were really close on that one.
I was like, okay, they they did something I didn't expect. I appreciate that.
I actually. Can we talk about the twist now?
Let's talk about the twist. Let's put it out there. Who
I-
was the were-rabbit?
Oh, it's Wallace.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like,
Oh,
That
I thought it was
actually-
the dude with the shotgun.
Which his name? Are you talking about Victor Quartermaine?
Yes.
Who was a wonderful, wonderful antagonist.
he was. He actually
Was it?
was a really fun antagonist.
I just think this is like
But like
the other Ray Fiennes DreamWorks role before this is Prince of Egypt. Two very different characters.
that is very true. Yeah.
well, the other thing is that he wasn't really a bad guy, I don't think.
No.
He's
Like,
the antagonist, though.
Yeah.
He was the antagonist, but you could also, and again, it like the characters that they made, and I'm not trying to overanalyze a kids movie, but like the characters that they made are simple, but because of that, like you could really like not say like develop, but like you can make it clear where all the characters were coming from. Like that's what I liked about the antagonist is that like yeah he's a bad guy because he's shooting everybody, but you know
He's
why.
shooting everybody.
Well, you can't go around
Yes.
shooting everybody. Like, you just can't do that, right? You're agreeing with me that?
It also is funny because he, in a weird sort of way, he kind of exists separate from the rest of the movie. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like there's this weird line between what's happening with Wallace and Gromit and what's happening with
I don't know.
the,
Double check the name.
Just say
uh,
Toddy. Just say Toddy. Remember,
Toddy.
she wants him to call him Toddy.
yeah,
Toddy.
there's that weird sort of line like, and Toddy and Wallace are kind of
Ooh.
well, yeah, yes. I was gonna say blurred together and kind of where those two tie together, but there's a weird separation between the two for a lot of the movie
Yeah.
because like Wallace he doesn't interact with Toddy that much, right?
No, but man, does he get all hoo hoo around.
He does. She really tickles his fancy.
No, he tickles something. What?
Oh, hey-oh. Kids movie
Rated
here.
G.
Kids movie.
It's
G!
rated G.
Really? That's a G one.
Why would
Leave
it be
it to
G?
something that's not actually by DreamWorks. Rated G.
Yep. Because
Wow,
I
that's-
think, if I'm right, I
G
think
is
the
hard to
last
get.
G.
Ever?
I think the last G we had was probably Spirit. There's also Chicken Run. So 2 of the 3 G's at least have been Aardman.
That is really interesting.
Has Flushed Away PG?
Yeah.
Yes.
Come on, dude. There's toilet humor.
The whole thing.
You with the puns and the dad shirt.
But I can't say the Groomba thing.
No,
Why?
because I make better puns than you.
You didn't make a pun
that
at all.
Is not true. That is not true. I mean, I don't always like Chair's puns, but man, that is not true.
You win some, you lose
I was
some.
going to say about the villain.
Yes.
It harkens back to simpler types of movie villains, because nowadays the thing is every villain has to be in some form sympathetic, or just like you understand their motivations, and it's the nurture over nature thing, and that's fine. You can get some great villains out of it.
Mm-hmm.
There's also, and it comes with the cycles of tropes, because for the longest time the villains were they're just bad, they're evil. We don't need to know why.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course you get sick of that.
Mm-hmm.
You want more depth, and now we've had so much depth, and every villain has to have a backstory. It's nice to watch something like this. It's like, can we just have a simple villain once in a while, just to balance everything?
Well, and interestingly, like you point out, like the two differences right there.
Yeah.
I think this one fits like almost smack dab on the line, and that's what I like about it. Very simple, very obvious, very clear what he wants.
Yeah. Well, motivation's different.
Because you understand why what he's doing is bad, but what he's doing is not necessarily inherently bad.
Exactly.
And again, the motivation is different from the depth I'm talking about. Like, you need good motivation. I'm saying we don't need to dive deep into his character to know why he does what he does.
Right.
It's just literally that's what he's going for.
Right.
It's simple.
Yeah, which honestly, you could paint that whole picture to this the entire movie. That's what I like about it. It's just simple, entertaining hijinks.
Oh yeah.
And like that's what when like I'm not saying you have to turn your brain off, but it's kind of fun when you can just sit back and just watch. I'm gonna keep using the word hijinks, but I just think that's what describes it perfectly. When you can just sit back, relax, and just watch hijinks ensue, and just see all the silliness and goofiness and have
the
fun with it.
inventions are always a highlight.
That's
of
what it
Wallace
is.
and Gromit. They like it's a character in itself. Just how weird and interesting can we make these?
The helmet has rabbits just literally floating in it.
I was gonna say Hutch, I believe, is the one that he gets his DNA mixed up with. I don't know what it is about, because you'd think Wallace turning into a giant rabbit is like disturbing enough. But it's actually Hutch turning into Wallace. It was more disturbing.
Oh my god, that was weird.
Jeez.
Which I can relate. I can really relate. I do love me some cheese, so I don't blame where he's coming from. I really can understand.
Now I wanted to talk about Wallace being the were-rabbit, because there's an interesting split feeling I had about it, because I already knew the twist going into the second one. And I don't dislike the decision, and it works. Part of me, it's like when I'm sitting there, because I like the beginning where it shows Wallace and Gromit catching the rabbits, her whole system. Mm-hmm. It's like part of me is like, I kind of like the movie better before we know that he's the were-rabbit, where it's both of them chasing after it, even though they can't chase after it separately because he is it. Mm-hmm. It's like part of me is like, I want the movie where there is the rabbit and they're both banning,
That's
that's
totally fair. Which
there's a couple of times where,
but they're not chasing anything because
Gromit is.
Gromit is.
I'm
saying it's a team.
Oh,
that's what I mean. Like, part of me is like, I want that, but what we got is really good and works. But I feel like if they do it this way, it'd also be really good works. It's just kind of a which one do we choose?
Which is why both. That's why I think and I know you say they didn't do both of them, but it kind of feels like it does. Just like in the beginning when they weren't obviously actually chasing it, but they were pretending to. And I think that I like what they did with that. But then I also like the fact that they were able to say, "Hey, we had fun with that. Now let's do something completely different." But
it's good character stuff too, because if the were-rabbit is not someone we know, mm-hmm. we don't care as much about Quartermaine shooting it.
That is a very good point.
Whatever it is about shooting an animal is beside the point. It's like, well, there's not an emotional connection to it outside of it being an animal. When it's Wallace, it's no, he can't.
It's like that's probably why they did it realistically.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it works mm-hmm. better for character, mm-hmm. and it probably is the better movie. But part of me is like, I also want this because they work so well together as a team.
It is fun seeing everything.
It's not a bad thing. It's just my interesting take on mm-hmm. that being the twist, because it's not about the twist not working. It's just mm-hmm. my preference is different than what the movie is, and that's not the movie's fault.
Which, this being the first time I've seen any Wallace and Gromit thing ever, I actually might want to go back and look at some of the old stuff now, just because
The Wrong Trousers is the best one. That's the one that.
that's
won,
what I
but
heard.
That's really fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of fun.
Robotic trousers?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was just if you think the chase scenes in this, like the one where Grom's getting pulled through the tunnels, and then like at the end that whole chase and everything at the festival, you think that's fun? That's the whole second half of the short is basically the chase with the trousers. It's just fun.
So to counter your point about
The twist.
yeah, the two separate movies, like I think how do I want to say this? I think Wallace and Gromit make such a good team that the team itself is a character.
Okay.
And it's almost to the point where I can watch Gromit chase the were-rabbit in those scenes in which he does, and I completely forget about Wallace because it feels like that team is still there,
Interesting.
even though it's not.
And Gromit does most of the work. Let's be real.
Well, I think,
Gromit's the real
that might
MVP.
be why it feels like that, but that's always been a Looney Tunes sort of.
And I like how he doesn't talk. So many big studios would make the animals talk, and he's never talked. Like, from what I can recollect, there might be some weird part of a short where he did, but the point is, he spends the whole movie mute, and you know exactly what he's feeling.
That's actually
That's a testament to their animation skills and their design.
Exactly. That's what it highlights their animation skills, and it highlights the how they execute physical humor. It's because they don't have to rely on funny quips. They can just smack them into things, and that's fun to watch.
Imagine if they went the spirit route. So after the rabbit chase, Gromit crawls out of the hole, and you hear like Matt Damon come in, and that's when I knew I had to catch this thing. Because that really is when you have that narration for an animal that doesn't talk. It's like Gromit crawls out of the hole with this face, this expression that tells you everything, and this frustration and just tired. But you throw that. That's why I'm glad they don't do that. His face is everything. It's the eyes. That's how they do it. It's the eyes.
His face and what's around him. They do a really good job of using what's around him to convey his emotion.
That is very true, yeah. Which I think really just comes down to, is this, I can't remember, is it actual claymation or is it just made to look like it?
It's actual claymation.
It is
clay models, yeah. That's another point. Yeah.
That's early enough that it would still be. Flushed Away is, I think, where it...
That's computer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
Flushed Away is definitely...
So I would love
to
see, because the way you do claymation is you take a frame and then you move it.
I mean,
I would love to see the frame count on that.
Oh, sweet Jesus. It'd probably be off the charts.
One of my favorite details is when you look close, you can see people's fingerprints on the models. I don't know why I love that. Yeah, you can see a little bit just from the parts that move on like the face, because a lot of times like they won't have the clay underneath like the clothing, like wires or stuff, but you'll see it sometimes, and it's just a nice little detail that lets you know this is real. This is like
handmade.
Yeah, this
handcrafted.
We are taking pictures of something that is real. It's not just something on a computer or a drawing.
That's the second twist. They intentionally put that in there to make you think.
Ooh, there you go. Robots actually made this movie. Not the movie robots, actual robots. And they made it look like humans.
No, robots from the movie Robots did it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Robin Williams came back from the grave.
Wait, back up. I think you have a misunderstanding of when Robin Williams.
I was gonna say, as soon as I said, like, wait, hold up, let me rewind that. Never mind.
Rest in peace, Blue Sky.
Rest in peace.
You gave me some great memories as a kid.
They really did, and
Thanks,
Disney sucked them up.
Thanks,
Disney.
Anyway, Wallace and Gromit, the first the Were-Rabbit. I will say, a second watch, it's a weird thing where I liked it more than the first time, but I still think I prefer Chicken Run, but it's close. Because Aardman just does a good job.
I think I would say, if I had to choose, I would choose this one, because I feel like there's more going on. There's more humor, and I don't have to listen to Mel Gibson.
I was going to say, when are you going to bring up Mel Gibson?
Well, and we'll also say, and I don't know.
And it's not as dry a humor as Chicken Run
Maybe
was.
that's what, because I was going to say, I don't know why, but for me, Wallace and Gromit is more memorable than Chicken Run is. And again, I think it might be a little bit of the dry humor, And I'm not really sure why exactly. Like I'd have to like really grapple with that to see.
And that was a first watch too.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. They're both first watches, but Wallace and Gromit just stuck with me more.
It's got to
I
be
think
the nostalgia thing. Just I watch it. Whatever you watch as a kid is going to have a different feeling, especially when it's something that is made for kids, and you watch it in your 20s or 30s. Yeah. Much different experience.
It just hits extra harder when you have that young mind and young heart. Which is maybe why it hit me harder, just because.
And yet, at times, this is kind of going off track. It's like certain serious moments from kids' movies that you did react to, sadly, as kids. For some reason, some of us don't. But then, I'm thinking of like The Lion King. With Oz's death, I never reacted sadly to it. I just kind of sat there. I don't know why.
What?
Because it is a sad scene.
How the heck?
I don't know. Because I watched it as a kid, I didn't feel
fast
good.
forward through that part because it scared me so much.
That scene hurt me.
There and
it physically hurt me.
It wasn't like I was like joyful or anything. No, serious part. It's sad, but I'm just sitting there kind of like, okay, this is scary. It's scary. It's not sad to me, so I'm kind of like, let's keep moving. Let's get to the funny fat guy and the meerkat.
Oh, that's fair.
So I think that's why. But I was just thinking about like stuff like that. How you don't react to certain things that other people were reacting to. Because I feel like this is something
that is true.
At my age I'd probably react to. Actually, part of me feels like I'd react to this more now than I would as a kid for some weird reason. I don't know what it is.
That's interesting.
It's something I'll never know. It's a big what if.
Yeah. I will say I think this would have hit me harder as a kid just because I've just always been a wacky and weird kid, and this would have been like right up my alley.
You've always just been wacky and weird.
I mean, yeah.
You don't have to put kid at the end of that. You just haven't changed. But that's why we love you.
That is, thank you. I appreciate it.
Ooh. So yeah, I don't have much else to say. It's one of those movies that kind of just everything I've said already is kind of just says it all because the movie speaks for itself.
There's not too much to say. It's like
it's no Madagascar.
It's no Madagascar, obviously. It's not a cinematic masterpiece. But it's a good time.
I don't think I would have picked it to win Best Animated Feature because...
What was it up against?
It's up against Corpse Bride, which I like this better than Corpse Bride. But the one that I would have picked because I'm a pretentious film boy, Howl's Moving Castle.
I mean, Howl's is...
I'd pick Howl's because that's how it is. Yeah. And I know you love Howl's too. I was going to
say, I'm not going to disagree. Howl's is phenomenal.
Have you seen Howl's? Yeah, what would you pick between the two to win the award?
Howl's. I was going to say that's
so you see what I mean? And they're two completely different movies because Howl's is a much more mature movie because it has a different thing it's doing than this. It's a different type of animation too.
That is tricky, and I don't want to go into too much of a like off track about like the Oscars, but like when you like do animated movies, it's hard because especially like you're comparing Howl's like incredible written like just layered masterpiece that really is like about like time and war and aging. And then you get Wallace Gromit, which is like hijinks and fun and whacking people
not
in the
trying
head.
to discredit it in any way. It has a different goal than Howl's. They're completely different things.
And for what its goal was, it nailed it. I really think it did.
I wonder with picking Oscars winners like that, how much approachability is a factor in how they decide.
I feel like it would have to be.
Because I feel like this would be more approachable to more people than Howl's.
Yeah. Especially, I'm not going to speak too lowly of American audiences, but I think we're not the brightest people.
Well, how about recency? For, this will, they'll know when we recorded this, but for the Oscars, instead of American audiences just enjoying another round for what it is, we have to have an English remake.
Oh, of course.
With Leo attached to it. In some way. It's like, we can't just watch it with the subtitle. We have to have our own version every single time. When the movie's great. Yeah. I love the movie. It's just, it drives me nuts sometimes how people just will not watch anything else. They have to have their same safe movies all the time, which that's what a lot of people, they just go for basic level entertainment. That's what they want. They're not pretentious like we are.
Are you talking about watching Howl's with like a Japanese audio track?
I'm saying the approachability. Like Howl's, I don't mind the dubbing for Ghibli movies. It's usually pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But
Kids and Disney have done a decent job with those dubs. I'm just saying how, with the approachability, American audiences on the whole, a lot of times tend to not want to watch stuff that isn't the simpler, more approachable stuff.
I was gonna say, yeah, if granted, I don't know if I've actually seen what the synopsis of Howl's would look like. I don't know, we're starting to bring Howl's into this too much, but regardless, I never actually seen the synopsis, but I feel like it would be like, I don't know if I want to like sit down.
It's
and
weird
watch.
to them.
Yeah,
That's what it is. It's not a normal thing, which this isn't either. But this is somehow more familiar. Plus, when you have more context to this.
it also
because of the shorts.
applies to just more general audience. Like everybody can find enjoyment in physical humor. Like, I'm sorry, you're gonna
It's
see
universal.
it's universal, exactly.
Here's another, specifically with the type of Studio Ghibli animation. There is this. I have 2 points. Number one is movies have been sold to us as pure escapism, and that is all they are.
Yeah.
So if you see a movie that's going to make you think about what your life is, going to make you think about history or whatever. I mean, speaking from my experiences, it's more emotionally exhausting now. I'm a person that's willing to sit through that.
Yeah, but it takes a little more of a toll on you.
Yeah, but there are many people that do not want to watch a movie. You know, there are many people that don't want to watch your Irishmans because A, it's 3 hours.
It's 3 hours long.
B, it does make you think about age and life and stuff like that, and like hard subjects.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about, how Jimmy Hoffa died.
Right. Which isn't
even true. According to the movie, I don't think we know the real one, but
no one knows.
I know the movie from what I've read. That's not.
I know
they're based off the book, and the book is what. We're not going to get into that.
Yeah.
Secondarily, with the type of animation the Studio Ghibli does, or at least did before the past.
Earwig and the Witch.
Another
can of worms.
I couldn't remember the name. There is a stigma that has been attached to American audiences that watch anime style animation.
Yeah.
A weird stigma that is not right, but it has also been branded as more of a kid's thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's just animation in general.
Yeah, but it's even more so, I would say, for anime, because you have your things like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon that are done by a brand that is for kids. No, I'm not sure if that's still a brand, but and it's always on Cartoon Network or it's
on the flip side though, Ghibli is one of the more accessible Japanese companies. Like, they're the most recognizable that make movies. Because you talk to people, I love Ghibli movies, or however you pronounce it. There's all kinds of ways people pronounce it, but it's just funny how that works. Like, it's not really niche anymore because so many people watch it because of the Disney and
anymore though. But when this came out, it would have been.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like stop motion. We probably mentioned it for Chicken Run. They don't like stop motion, and British humor is not their thing. So a lot of people don't like this. Solely based on that, they didn't even watch the movie.
I can honestly say that I didn't like stop motion animation until about 2006.
Like, when you can actually here comes the pretentious film nerds talking. Here we go.
Yeah.
Let's talk Keto, man.
When you can...
Is it black and white? Then it doesn't matter.
All I'm saying is when you can appreciate the work put into it, when you can realize these guys slaved over moving each individual thing, it just makes you enjoy it more.
If it's not directed by Stanley Kubrick, I'm not watching it.
I don't think that's pretentious. I just think that's a real argument because, when I think about it, that's what made me start broadening my cinematic horizons.
There's got to be a gateway.
Like,
there's got to be something.
I feel like this actually would be a decent gateway.
It is.
Actually, do you know what my gateway was?
It sounds like we're at a narcotics anonymous thing now.
I have two gateways. They both came at me in 2005, 2006. The first was Blade Runner.
yeah.
Interesting.
The
Okay.
second, because that's one of Drew's favorite movies.
It's very good.
3 gateways. Sorry, 3 gateways.
So Blade Runner,
Blade Runner, Quantum Leap,
the show, right?
yeah,
Okay.
and Star Trek: Deep Space Nine. That's really what started my whole like, whoa. Before that, it was things like, dude, where's my car? And
Still a classic.
Out
Still a
Cold.
classic.
Like, I'm not dogging on those movies. They're funny in their own right, but
Different
Yeah,
kind of.
there's always that movie or show that even if you were already on that path, it's like the eye opener. Whoa. Mine's pretentious enough. It was There Will Be Blood. You watch that and you go, this is what movies can be? Even though I'd seen plenty of what are considered classics and those, tier movies, but that was like the I'm like 17 at the time, and that was still one of my favorite movies.
I mean, let me list mine too. I was given to me 10th grade because I was going into a media class the next day. He's like, oh, Wallace, the AFI Top 100. I'm like, okay. La da 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 da. Let's see 2001.
There's a popular pick.
And I'm like, wow, I like movies.
I still haven't watched that movie all the way through.
It's not a popcorn movie, really.
No.
It's not let's watch 2000.
So I gotta be
honest.
honest with you. I think I fell asleep about 30 minutes into it. I just never gone. Like,
So before we even get to space,
the last thing I remember is that bone falling out of the sky and the monkey grabbing it and he strikes the ground or the skull or whatever.
and that's like right before he throws it again and we cut.
And then
right?
it cuts
Yeah.
right to the space station.
Yep.
So right before it actually becomes a space odyssey.
And so I kind of gave my 2 movies, but let me give you 2 more that really just kind of pushed
okay.
it over the
You had
edge.
5.
And
Well, you're
then
having
we
a
do gotta
buffet.
bring this back into Wallace and Gromit.
No.
We do.
Okay, so
Gate buffet.
Scott Pilgrim
Yes.
Oh.
and Silver
Okay.
Linings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
I remember you watching that and saying like, I love this movie when it came
I do.
out. And
I still do.
I know. I remember that moment. That look on your face. It's like
I remember rocking. Wait, are we talking Scott Pilgrim or Silver Linings?
Silver Linings. Scott Pilgrim. I don't even think I knew you then. I might have known you, but I don't think
That's
we were.
2010.
Yeah, I don't think we were talking about movies then.
No, but I remember rocking, like slowly, like getting balled up in the chair in the movie theater, just rocking back and forth, watching.
This is me.
Yeah,
It's like,
no,
yeah,
that's
you're
because
getting
that's
into
what
it.
it was. It was, this is me. Oh my gosh, how are they writing my life? Oh my gosh. Anyway,
Yeah.
Wallace and Gromit.
Wallace and Gromit.
No, didn't you say you had a second gateway?
I mean, I will. Do I want me to mention? Okay, I'll mention it.
Uh-oh. Oh, no.
No, it's actually not a bad
Brace
one.
yourself.
Wallace and Gromit.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Iron Man.
Oh,
Iron
okay.
Man.
I can
But
accept
you
that.
want to know what Iron Man did for me? And I don't want to
The
go down this rabbit hole
cheeseburgers.
too much. But the cheeseburgers and
Cheese.
that's what
Cheese.
brought me into midnight screenings.
Back when they were a
Back
thing.
when they were a thing, and we hit up me and my dad and my friend Noah. We would, and his dad too. We would always go to those things. Oh my gosh!
That's like right at the tail end too, because was it 4
It
years later?
was.
That was it.
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
that was Dark Knight Rises, right? When the thing happened in Colorado.
yep.
Yeah.
That's about the time when they stopped the midnight screen because of that. So
Oh, yeah,
yeah, you're right at the tail end. I remember when that came out too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Good times.
I don't
Okay,
think-
so
Wallace and Gromit.
Wallace and Gromit.
Wallace and Gromit.
Wallace
Rated
and
G.
So I don't have any more.
It
thoughts
is your
about it.
gateway into stop motion animation.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's
Another one I think that another 2 that I know people latch onto, which they came out the same year, would be Coraline and Fantastic Mr. Fox.
I love
Yeah.
Coraline.
Actually, Nightmare Before
I
Christmas
actually
is in there
love both
too.
of those movies.
Nightmare is another one that's much older than those, but that's probably like the first big one where people like latch onto the style because that's.
I would,
it's
I would
just-
say
Yeah.
for stop motion, for me, it's Coraline, and that
That
got
was
me to
very, very
watch
fair.
Nightmare Before Christmas, which I don't care for so much, but
Hot take. I'm not a huge fan. I like it. I'm not the biggest fan.
I think the third act, I think it is too long.
Wait, that's a whole different.
It is,
That's
yeah.
that's
so,
different
Wallace
podcast.
and Gromit.
Wallace and Gromit.
Okay.
The
well,
Curse of the Were Rabbit.
Curse of the Were Rabbit. Anybody else have anything else to say about it?
No,
I like the story of they wanted, I don't know if it was DreamWorks, whoever wanted Aardman to replace the voice actor of Wallace to be a more well-known name, and they said no. Good for them because Peter
for them.
Sallis is Wallace. There's
I like that.
unfortunately we've lost him in the last decade.
Can't imagine anyone else.
I know. It was just
he really.
they were like, I think you should get something. They're like, no. Nope, it's only him that's gonna voice. And I like that.
Mhm.
So yeah.
On that
That's
note.
good. That's all our thoughts.
Yeah.
That's all my thoughts.
There it is.
Thus ends the 11th episode of That Works, a DreamWorks podcast. Wallace and Gromit was a good one, fun one. Again, all of us watched much later in our lives than the demographic is, even though we were in the demographic when it came out.
I know, oddly enough.
Yeah,
Just
so,
missed us.
Yeah. Next, we're
What's
going to
up next?
discuss one I did see as a kid, saw many times.
Rocking the suburbs.
Yep, Over the Hedge
Yes.
is the next one.
Oh,
And we will see you then.
yes.
Have a good one.